Heavy Radio 25, a tribute to the live show, coming at you live. This is Marco. We have Eric here and also Jeremy Hall.
Hello, Cleveland.
What
Hello. Yeah, how many times has someone said the wrong place, you think? It's definitely become a trope, but it happens.
It happens.
I was reading about just kind of some different live show experiences. I know on AC/DC Live, Brian Johnson said like, "Hello, Dublin!" And he was not in Dublin, so I think it happens.
I never caught that. That's funny.
I was like, I don't think it was one of the bonus tracks that came out in the later years, but yeah, coming at you live, and we all miss it. We all miss it. We all want it back. The live show. Heavy metal, heavy radio would not be the same without the live performance. I think that's why so many people love heavy metal, the live show. Yeah, what are you guys? What are you guys' thoughts on missing live shows and getting back to live shows?
Can't wait to do it. We got tickets to see a stand-up comedian coming up in a week or so. That'll be the first performance of any type that I would have been to since March of last year.
Yeah, I miss getting out there and seeing musicians and playing myself, and I miss everything from the huge shows you get excited about. You buy tickets like 3 months in advance to when you're just like, let's go hit the bar, let's see who's playing, and then you see some local artist you never heard before. It's awesome. Like, yeah, I can't wait for us all to get to be back out there.
Yeah, it's been such a big part of all of our lives. Like, it's just so weird to go so long without it.
Totally.
And that's why Jer brought up this idea that we're going to do a tribute to live music, to the live show. And without further ado, we'll get into some Heavy Radio 25 news. Starting off, Helloween, the reunited expanded lineup of German power metalers Helloween will release its much anticipated album in the summer of 2021. The disc's first single, Skyfall, will arrive on April 2nd, 2021. So I'm stoked for this. It's
awesome.
Yeah, I'm just definitely looking forward to it. I think it's based off the experience I had with the Pumpkins United live show. I think it's going to be sick.
So that's the one that has like all the singers, right? Everybody together.
Yeah. Kai Hansen, Michael Kiske, and Andy Darris.
Awesome. Hell yeah. I'm excited to hear that. I've heard tell of it, but I've never actually sat down and listened to those live shows they were doing with the singers. So that's rad.
Yeah, and I guess they're doing the studio, and they're doing the recording at a studio in Hamburg where they started as a band in '84. Same recording console used for Master of the Rings and Time of the Oath and Better Than Raw, and it's mixed in Valhalla Studios. So Iron Maiden and Def Leppard have been there. Their drummer is using the drum set of their late drummer Ingo Swichtenberg that he used on the Keeper of the Keys recordings.
That's right. Man. That's really cool.
It's easy to forget how long those guys have been at it, man. That's a long.
Yeah.
That's a history.
Yeah, and for Michael Kiske to still deliver, and Andy Darris at the level that they do and Kai Hansen for that matter. Honestly, it's hard for me to pick which one is my true favorite, just because they're all good. They're all three good.
Yeah, I was never a huge fan of them. I mean, I always liked the music, but I never went deep with them. The first time I made the trip down to Atlanta to see Prog Power USA, the night before they did like a show that kind of butted up against it, kind of made it a 3-day thing instead of a 2-day thing, really. But it was a different ticket, and Gamma Ray and Helloween were there. And then they did some stuff at the end
together.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things where you knew you were a part of something special, because I think that was one of the first things of those guys getting back together that kind of predated this other stuff, and it was kind of over my head because I wasn't deep on either of those bands, but you knew something cool was going on, and you could tell by by the people who were there, and you could just feel it in the room. It was certainly a good show.
Around that same time period, I saw both of those bands together, and they did that same thing where they played some songs together, and
Yeah.
it was wild. I was swinging from the rafters. It was nuts. It was great.
I think they ended the tour in Atlanta at the show I saw, so I think you probably saw them sooner than that. Come to think of that, I think that might have been how that went. I think that was '07, '07 or '08.
Yeah, I think I was actually on a small trip of shows with the band, and just we made a detour to all go see Halloween in Gamma Ray. Now that I think about it, um, another bit of news I have is Sabotage. Sabotage have allowed their 1983 debut album Sirens and their '84 EP The Dungeons Are Calling to streaming services for the first time. So you can now find those kick-ass records on streaming services. And
Oh yeah.
the band issued a statement with that saying, for the first time in the U.S., both Sirens and The Dungeons Are Calling are now available digitally to stream on Spotify, Apple Music, and Deezer, whatever the fuck that is. This is just the start of many new exciting things we have in store for you this year. Happy listening. So a little perhaps reunion teaser. We had a most excellent show with Jeff Plate, the drummer, most recent
Yeah.
drummer from Sabotage, and he mentioned he would love to get back at it. Al Petrelli said he would love to make some Sabotage happen. So it sounds like it's a very real possibility.
Those are great records too. I haven't listened to Sirens in like a long time, so I'll have to spin that up.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff on there. Hell yeah. I had a news story for us today. Dave Mustaine has unveiled his new line of guitars. He has moved from Dean over to Gibson, and so he has 3 lines of guitars. He has the Gibson, the Epiphone, and the Kramer line. He has an acoustic in there, and the other one, are the classic plays on the Flying V. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see them, but on a scale of awesome to what are those, what do you guys think of these new guitars?
I saw them. What are those?
Not a fan, huh?
I'm not a fan.
I like the Kramer. The Kramer one, I think, is if I kind of digging that. I'm warming up to it.
If I had to pick one, yeah, the Kramer one, because the Kramer one looks right with that headstock. I'm a
Yeah.
headstock snob. You know, it has to be it has to look right, and the pointy, symmetrical King V with that kind of hockey stick Explorer Gibson headstock just isn't doing it for me. And I've been to a lot of Megadeth shows. I've been front row at Megadeth shows. I've been a Megadeth fan since the '80s. And when I close my eyes and see Dave Mustaine, he's playing the Jackson. That's just the way it is.
You know, I haven't seen these actually, but the last time I remember someone unveiling a new guitar and signature model, and it was, I guess there's a couple that come to mind that really did blow me away. I was like, that's fucking awesome. Was like the Mick Thompson Jacksons. I thought those
Oh,
were
yeah.
fucking sick. And then
Yeah.
the Warren DeMartini Charvel guitars, like those grabbed my attention, and I was like, oh, those are some damn fine guitars, heavy metal machines. But yeah, the last few decades, I guess, of Dave Mustaine guitars have not really appealed to me so much. But I agree, like you picture the Jackson, and I think David Ellefson's still
Yeah.
sticking with Jackson, and that just
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
that seems right to me.
And obviously, it's
Yeah.
got nothing to do with the music, and you know, it's what it is what it is. And who knows what they use in the studio? We've all
Lots of great records have been recorded on Gibson guitars, so I mean, you can't. I don't think it's
Yeah.
really any indication of anything other than, Dave Mustaine wanted some money for that.
right.
I do the
yeah.
Kramer one if we could do it in like hot blue or something, some crazy color. I'll keep my eye out.
I did see. I've been so patiently waiting. Charvel finally has some basses now out of the new Charvel San Dimas. They're putting out some bass guitars for the first time out of this new shop, so I'm stoked for that.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Yeah, Nam this year had some cool stuff. There wasn't as much this year, understandably, with everything going on, but yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff. Oh, okay, I see the San Dimas base. I had to pull it up. I was curious.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Yep. All right, I ship that. I agree with that. Hell yeah.
Last show I mentioned I was excited to queue up the Electric Theater with Clown because he had King Diamond on there. Sean Crahan had King Diamond on his podcast, so I got a chance to listen to it. And just those two guys coming from very different places, and just how I feel like King Diamond could talk to anybody and be like a gentleman. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it was just really cool, so I definitely recommend checking that out because he got way into like the history of him finding music and his early records he loved, and then all the way to what he's doing now, most recently with Merciful Fate and King Diamond. Uh, got into
Awesome.
both those new records that are in the oven. So definitely check that out if you haven't. Electric Theater with Clown, with King Diamond on there.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah, King Diamond's a rad dude. He's one of those I could like if you could have dinner with anyone, he'd be on my list and stuff.
Yeah, I bet he's
Hang out
got
and
some
talk
stories.
metal. Yeah. About all of his stories he has in his head too. The
I know.
creatures.
Oh, yeah. Just as a side note, it was 39 years ago today that we're recording this that a little known band named Iron Maiden set out on their Beast on the Road tour, which was for
Nice.
the Number of the Beast
Fitting.
album with their new vocalist, the ex Samson singer Bruce Dickinson,
the
and the
man.
rest is history.
They were never heard from again.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, with Bruce or with Paul Diano, Maiden definitely has some fierce live recordings. There's no, I don't think anybody could deny that.
Yep.
Whether
Yep,
he
over
love
over the
either of
course of
those
the next
vocals,
45 minutes or whatever, I'm sure we're going to hear about Maiden again, but yeah, that just happened to be a note for today. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And just while we were riffing on this, I saw just something happen to come to me. It was Angus Young recalls the scariest live show experience he ever had. He said he was playing in Seattle when somebody fired a rocket launcher into the dome of the roof that they were playing at, and the roof caught on fire. I could see smoke all around me, but I didn't know. I just thought, oh, we've got the smoke machine going. Then I was walking around and I couldn't see the band, and then I realized the band wasn't on stage. I was there by myself. The crew ran on to get me and said, "We got to get you moving. There's a fire." But they put the fire out, and AC/DC got back on stage and finished the show. So to me, think
Rocket
about that.
launcher?
Like that's what Angus said. I mean,
That's crazy.
This is
I didn't
recently?
ever hear of that. Angus told the story recently, but I don't believe the show was recently.
oh, okay.
He
Sounds
said
like
it was
smoke on the
he said it
water.
was the Tacoma Dome in Seattle, and he called it a rocket launcher. I don't know if he meant a bottle rocket or something, but he said a fucking rocket launcher, and that AC/DC was like, "Fuck it, we're gonna get on and finish the show." I mean, to me, that's
Oh,
pretty fucking epic.
That's pretty metal, man.
Yeah, have either of you ever been at a show where there was a fire alarm?
No, I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
I've been at one. It was here in Des Moines, Iowa, at People's Court. Trivium was playing, and the fire alarm went off because of their fog machine.
Did they actually have to evacuate?
We didn't have to evacuate, but they had to stop the show, and they're just kind of standing off in the wings, and it's not a big stage, so they're kind of peeking out like we're trying to not be seen, and keep up the facade of, performance, and but the lights are on, and there's fire, the fire department showed up in full, firefighter stuff, and we're all just standing around, and then before the show started, they were talking about this thing they're doing where you could get a recording of tonight's concert. Um, if you
You could
met
have
him
that.
afterwards and did this thing, I'm like, this is gonna be a real interesting recording. But yeah,
Fire alarms.
yeah, good times, live shows. I miss it.
Yeah, I
Like,
can't think of anything comparable to that. I've seen many a show. I actually think it's pretty remarkable how many live shows go on without much of a hitch when you think about
Right.
it. It seems like so many things can go wrong, especially when you have your pointy guitars and your pointy headstocks. And but yeah, either people are there are a lot of people that are troopers and they carry on through all kinds of crazy shit, or um, I don't know. It's just something where people are in it tend to be in a good mood, so maybe things don't go as awry as they do in other crowds. I don't know, but yeah, it's wild when you think about it.
No,
But
let's
yeah,
keep it cool.
yeah, coming at you live, best live shows, most memorable live experiences. What comes to your guys' mind with that?
I'll jump out. I brought a list of some that just really either stood out to me or were crazy moments. So I'll run through my list real quick here and feel free to jump in. Um, let's see. I put these in chronological order of my lifetime. So I'll run through these here. First one was Pantera. It was on the Reinventing the Steel tour. Mark was with me at that show. That was 2001, I think it would have been. Went with our buddy Corey, and that was one of the cementing moments of my life with music and just realizing this is what I want to do because it was just I've been to a few metal concerts before that and I thought I knew what like energy and loud was and this was just a whole other level, no pun intended, and it was just the moshing, the circle pits, like the intensity I still haven't seen um, live, and just I couldn't one of those moments I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And Mark ran down the mosh pits, and I was watching from up in the balcony. It was
Yeah,
just
Mor-
insane.
Morbid Angel opened too, which
Yeah,
Oh man.
was crazy, and then um, yeah, so I ran down into the pit. That was like a moving wall of humanity, like the crazy, probably still one of the craziest ones I've seen because the whole floor of an arena in Cedar Rapids, like I think it's called U.S. Cellular now, or maybe it was then, but
Yeah. Five
it was like
season center back
a
in the
whole
day.
floor. There was like you could still have like spikes and gauntlets and chains back then. You could
chain
carry that shit in.
wallets.
So shit was flying, and like you had to dodge under like nails coming out of people's arms and like big dudes taking their shirts off. I was a pretty skinny high school or we were like
Yeah, like
early high school
14,
year
15. Yeah.
high school kid, and like there's just like big dudes like with that crazy look in their eye, like bashing into each other
They're
like
ready
they're
to
fucking
rumble, man.
like two rams, like and
Yeah.
then like fucking chain
Suicide
comes
Note Part
flying
2,
by your
man.
head like beer bottle, like just it smells like whole just reefer madness and like the
You
fucking
guys ever
Sweat.
get into that? Is
uh
that your game?
and then
You
I
ever
don't
get in
know.
there and throw elbows with them?
Oh, that thing. I didn't know which of those games you meant, but most of those games, I mean, at some point. But I
I've had to
I
step out of the moshing days because
I
I'll
I
break
did
something.
I did at times, but I usually stayed at pretty fun, like just bumping into people. I never got like like test of strength, like
Yeah.
feats of strength,
I'm
like
usually
I
the
never.
guy just like throwing people back in at this point. I'm usually in the back with my arms crossed, like rocking out, and then if somebody flies out, I can help push
Yeah.
back in. That's about it for me.
That
I never
stuff
got to
scared the
like
crap out of
I
me.
never got to like Festivus levels of like really going at it with there are times where I was like the pit sort of defender, if you will. Like I saw people that got smashed like inappropriately, like, oh, that's not right, and then I just fucking blast the dude and he goes fucking flying into a table because he deserved it. It wasn't like
Had it
just
coming.
because like just to get into it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
coming,
no,
man.
but at this show I was mainly just trying to survive intact, and I got to the front row and I gave Phil a high five, and he backs up, he's like, motherfucker, this is Suicide Note Part 2.
Oh
And that
shit,
was
that's
like
the heavy one.
the fucking craziest song to be in the front row for.
Oh,
I got
Jesus.
knocked over right in front of Dimebag, and that's where I was the rest of the show. Like, it's so fucking like it's hard to believe that it's a real memory. It was fucking
Yeah, it sounds like
insane.
a movie, but
And then the fucking fire was like pouring off, like the
yeah,
fucking
Hellbound.
pyro. I don't know how Vinnie Paul wasn't fucking burnt to a crisp because I was in the audience. I had like my arm hair was getting singed and shit. It
There's
was
a riff in
Hellbound.
fucking
there's a
crazy.
riff in Suicide Note Part Two. It's like what it sounds like if the world breaks open.
Yeah,
You know, and it. Oh Jesus.
He was there.
yeah, it was fucking unbelievable. So I can vouch for that one. Long story
yeah.
short.
No, it's a good. It's one of my. That's my founding concert. Next one up that was really formative, big huge show was Megadeth. It was on, I think, also in 2001. It was on the World Needs a Hero tour right beforehand, and that was crazy. That was in Kansas City. Mark was with me too. We went together, and we we worked our way to the front row center, so we were like right there in the front, right when the band started, and just to see Megadeth right there for the first time, front row center, and they were playing classic songs, and it was just intense. And Mark and I got on the website, I think. But yeah, there's people like just crowd surfing, and it was just intense. Next one is the Anthrax and Dio at the Surf Ballroom in 2005, I think. That was awesome because I think John Bush was still with Anthrax, and that was insane as always, as Anthrax do. And then Dio coming out and being close, like being front row for that was just insane. I got to shake Dio's hand at the end of the show. He like reached out.
Yeah, we got
Um,
to hang with Rudy Sarzo. I think that was actually on, like, literally on my 19th birthday.
Yeah,
I
I
yeah,
think
believe.
so. Yeah, you brought that up before. That's an awesome story. What? Oh man,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
Rudy
that
Sarzo seems like a really cool guy too.
yeah, that pairing of bands things always makes a show like, what the fuck? I've just seen two epic bands back to back. Like, I felt that way when I saw Megadeth with Maiden. Seeing Megadeth with Heaven and Hell, I felt that way. Like, those are two easily that battle
Yeah.
out for my top shows.
Hell
Those
yeah.
are the shows. Those are also the shows I would bet that if you look at ticket price, are the other side of the weird swing. You know, it's like it's like those
Mhm.
bands you see for like $24. You get to see like, you know, Dio and Motorhead or something. You know, and then it swings the other way. It's 300 to see Cinderella and Def Leppard. You know, and I
I
like
know, take my
Cinderella and
pick.
Def Leppard, but it's
Right.
it's just that dramatic swing.
Mm.
I had two more on here that were just going with that theme, like you're saying, just crazy that I was there. But the Megadeth Rest in Peace 20th anniversary, the one they made a DVD out of the Hollywood Bowl. I ended up being at that one somehow, some way, and then I was also at the Big Four concert out in where was it? Out in California. I forget the city, but it was, yeah, the Big Four was there, and that was insane.
Oh
Um,
shit, nice.
Slayer kicked my ass at that one. I was Anthrax, I was having a blast, and then Megadeth, I was having fun. I'd seen them a bunch of times. Then when Slayer came out, that's when the beers started coming out and the sun went down. And
Nice.
by the end of Slayer, I was feeling great, and
Yeah.
it was intense.
Yeah, I have to mention some of my greatest live experiences actually come from the band that are the first guest we ever had on our podcast fronted, Nate Phillips from Black Market Fetus here in fucking Des Moines, Iowa. I
Hmm.
was always fucking raging, like in the front row in the pit at those shows. They were so fucking good. Black Market Fetus, um, the I've seen so many great ones. I just got to go with some honorable mentions like
Yeah.
Diamond Head, UFO, Ross the Boss, Metal Church with Chris Caffrey. That always like stands out to me when you have a band with someone that's like from another band, but you like both people, both groups of people. It's really cool.
That was a trip. I was at that too, and when I didn't know he was going to be there until I saw him there, and it was like,
Uh,
man,
I think we've talked about it before, Jer, but Skullfist, that's one of my top shows. They were like a new band, but it's for the first time in a long time that I felt like, whoa, this is like seeing AC/DC like in the early days. Like it was that kind of level of fucking
Early years.
awesome show vibe and awesome musicianship. Danzig, seeing him at First Ave in Minneapolis, because he was
Yeah.
just so into it, so fucking pissed, like
That was sweet.
just singing his fucking ass off, and like something about it, like it's Danzig, like the fucking blown out voice Danzig, like it's like he's not like he used to be, but he was fucking getting it, and it
Black
was like
Angel, White
something
Angel,
about
that was
that when
brutal.
it's like Phil Anselmo is kind of that same thing when they still get up there and they just fucking get it. It's like I don't care that it's like that he's like, he's not the same voice, he's an old fucking dude. He's been screaming his ass off for fucking 40 years, 50 years, and he was just fucking in the zone. That was
Yeah.
fucking great.
That's a star power, man.
Overkill in Cedar Falls, we got to support them and see them in a small venue, and they played like they're fucking playing an arena in Jersey. It was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking great. One of my also top memories was Weird Lord Slough Fag. I had not heard of them at the time, and I was like, yo, we're going out to see a show tonight, and that happened to be the band that was playing, and they fucking, to me, that was a very like Maiden-esque set, like in terms of quality, in terms of performance, and fucking great. It was a great surprise. Halloween with on their latest tour with all the members back in force. Had some help from Timothy Leary on that one, but the fact that Halloween then had it was like a cartoon they interacted with during the show. Like the screen was behind them, and they would interact with the pumpkin and the cartoon and like a fly, and it was for me it was like the right place at the right time, and it was fucking amazing. That might be my top show, Halloween. Pumpkins United, because it was just superb in every way possible. But yeah, I guess with that we'll get into our picks. Heavy Radio 25 tracks. Check out the Heavy Radio playlist on Spotify and YouTube. Like the show, share the show, subscribe, comment, write a review, whatever. If you got some badass stories, send them to us yourself. And yeah, what's your first track, Eric?
Let's see here. So live tracks was the game this week. My first pick is, I've been saying their name a lot, but Megadeth with She-Wolf from the album Rude Awakening. This was a version of She-Wolf that only existed live and only for a couple tours, and it's they go off on this extended solo, and it's just amazing, and they're just like, it's something. Yeah, I just never get tired of it. I remember seeing it on, I think, the Behind the Music or something. They had it for the first time, and I was just like blown away. So when we actually got to see it live, so
Yeah, I love Al Pitrelli too.
yeah, Al Pitrelli just rips
and
on that.
TSO, Alice Cooper, Megadeth, Sabotage, always bringing the taste.
Yeah, totally. I wish he's still with them, because yeah, there was some ripping shit. But yeah, She Wolf off of Rude Awakening, my favorite version.
That's a great song.
Hell yeah.
I saw Megadeth on that tour. That was Cryptic Writings, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
him on that tour. That's the tour that Seven Dust opened for them. I saw him twice on that tour, and Seven Dust opened for them for one of them, and their singer landed on my head. He jumped off the
Wow.
stage. His boot.
He's
hit
not
my
a
head.
small. He's not a small man.
Yeah, it was all right. It was a good time.
My first track is Thin Lizzy from Live and Dangerous with Rosalie.
Oh,
And fuck, this is a Live and Dangerous double live album released in June 1978. I feel like
One of the
Phil
best.
Phil Lynott at his best in top fucking form. Put on headphones, you're right there at a Thin Lizzy concert in their fucking prime.
Tearless.
This is one of those where I know this is kind of like a cliche pick, but I think there's a reason for it. Like it's fucking it's just one of the best live albums of all time, I have to say. And Yeah, Phil Lynott sounding great. I go with Rosalie, Bob Seger cover, but Thin Lizzy just brings the house down with
Bob
just
Seger.
a little number from Bob Seger.
Yep.
Brings
Gotta
the
love it.
fucking house down.
Oh
Nice.
yeah.
My first one, and one of the reasons I wanted to chat about live stuff today was, when I got into metal, I was like 10, and you can't really go to concerts much when you're 10. I mean, even now, I mean, especially when you're 10 in the 80s. It was just a different world. So like I was living through live albums. I loved live albums because it was like, oh, this is what it's like, and they were overblown sometimes. We can talk about certain bands and maybe they were live albums, maybe they weren't. We might get to
Yeah.
some of that. We might get
Uh,
to some of that stuff later,
I
but
think Live and Dangerous was one of those I was going to mention, but to me, if the vibe is there, to me, it doesn't really
yeah,
matter. I mean,
and
and
that's
if
the thing.
you know the band can do it, it's a little different than if it's like you haven't seen them live or there's not
Yep.
tons of other live footage, and it where they sound like totally different. That would be a different story.
Yeah, these live albums for me were like movies where your superheroes showed up. It's like I had the studio albums, but then you got to hear a live album. It's like this is what it's like when they come to your town.
And
You
honestly, if
know.
I was the producer, I don't even mind like a fuck up. If you're so intense and there's a fuck up or something crazy happens, like it, to me, it just makes you feel like you're at a concert.
Yeah,
I'm not like, oh man, this live album sucks because it's fucking sounds live like
right.
without a
Yep.
net.
Yeah. So when I was a wee little kid, the band Judas Priest was one of the big heavy metal bands. Was the first metal band I ever listened to. So I've got to open with Hellion Electric Eye off of Priest Live. And for my
Hell yeah.
money, as cheesy as it sounds, and this is a pretty basic pick, but there's no better of an opening to a metal show than the Hellion Electric Eye.
Yeah,
And
man.
I got to
Get you
I got
fucking
to
amped.
I saw him in '91. Was the first time I got to see him on the Painkiller tour,
Oh
and they
shit.
opened with it then. And um, I was going to talk about a couple of my concert memories with the picks. I got to
Yeah.
see him. I was a fan of him all through the Ripper years, and I remember standing in line at House of Blues in Chicago, getting ready to see him with Ripper, and you could hear him sound checking upstairs, and it was Victim of Changes, and you could hear him singing it, and the whole line waiting to get in just went silent, listening to. It's like, holy crap, listen, because no one had heard it yet. No one had heard Priest without Halford. This was before any of the live albums that came out, any of the DVDs, any of the stuff on MTV wasn't even out yet. And
Yeah.
we're hearing it just reverberate through the walls, and everybody just got quiet. And it was a weird scenario. And then
Hell.
yeah, go ahead.
Hellbent for Leather is a track, live Priest track that always stands out to me just because like the fucking tempo changes, the
Makes you want to
nasty
fight people.
vocals, and they like fucking. I feel like they nail it as close as human beings can as far as like the weird changes and speeding up and slowing down and fuck yeah.
And they're a band that, to get back to like the perfection thing, they're not perfect. And in their live albums, it's not perfect. And I embrace it. They're like a bar band set loose on the world. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
It's that
Uh,
energy. The energy comes through.
Heavy
oh man,
metal monster breathing smoke and fire.
oh it's just insane. So yeah, Hellion Electric Eye, what an intro.
Awesome. Um, my next pick is Metallica's Harvester of Sorrow off the Live Shit Binge and Purge album. This was when they were on tour for the Black album. And speaking of live versions, it's just there's something about after they do the first chorus, it's really specific, but after the first chorus, they go back into the groove and just them being live, like the beat just drags just a little bit on purpose, and you can just hear like they're just getting into it, and it just slams. And that's my favorite version of Harvester of Sorrow, even over the album, just because you can hear how just into it they are. And like we were just saying, it's technically yes, they're like behind tempo, but it's on purpose because it's live and you can feel the energy and just um, Jason Newsted screaming, which you don't get on the recording. It's just just an energy there that you can't replicate.
I know exactly that moment you're talking about. And
Yeah,
that's a motherfucker. And
yeah, it crushes.
you're gonna hear about Metallica again. That tour, in my opinion, was Metallica at the height of their game.
To me, it's like, yeah, anyone that ever wants to talk shit about Metallica, like, I don't get how you could just watch that and be like, okay, like, I get it. Like,
And
there's really nothing like this.
those live videos from that, like when they're playing in Russia. Remember that from the live. They did that two. It was VHS when it came out. Two
Yeah,
Yeah,
VHS
yeah.
live thing, or one was live, one was in the studio, and yeah, they were playing that in Moscow or whatever, and like the army's beating
yeah.
kids, and it's
Metallica,
that's some of the most
Metallica,
moving shit I've ever seen.
Metallica, and Pantera. I think revisionist history. They brought down communism just
Basically,
with those
the
concerts
wall
alone.
came. The wall was down.
And that's the song that was in those videos. That's an awesome pick.
Hell yeah.
I love
What?
live shit. I don't mean to talk over you.
No, not at all. Yeah, hell yeah, man. I would watch those VHSs till we almost broke them.
I'm ready to fight people.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Um,
That's the right. That's the
I
mood.
my next pick is Wasp with Live in the Raw,
Oh,
1987. PMRC declaring them sexual perverts.
oh,
Ghoulies 2 scream until you like it. And
never gonna stop.
but my track
Great
I
song.
picked, I chose "Sleeping in the Fire" because like you're getting reamed with "I Don't Need No Doctor," "Love Machine," "Wild Child," "95 Nasty," and then all of a sudden the intro starts, the lighters come up, the hair gets caught on fire from too much hairspray. "Sleeping in the Fire," fucking just to me that's a fucking magical song. Blackie just his voice just cuts and live, you know, is just sounds he cuts through just like he does on record. And yeah, just them
Energy,
at
man,
this time,
energy.
them at this time period, 87, captured in the full nasty
Full
sexual
nasty.
pervert mode.
That was on
Uh,
Inside the Electric Circus tour. Is
yeah,
that the album cycle they would have been on?
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Um, because that was Manimal and Harder Faster were
Yeah.
written for that album, and Scream Until You Like It was from Ghoulies 2.
I
Great
was in
So
song.
that
full
had
on
to
Wasp
be
mode then.
87.
Oh yeah, I was throwing newspapers at people's windows and listening to Wasp.
Yeah, I was turning into a ghoulie,
And
Yep.
Sleeping in the Fire,
popping out of
dude.
people's toilets.
The guitar solo in that. The guitar solo
Yeah.
in that is unfucking believable.
Yeah, that's some fucking magic. That's some guitar
He hits.
wizardry.
I think it's what's his name? It's not Holmes. It's was it I can't remember. Is it Randy?
Yeah,
What's his name? Randy Piper.
yeah.
That sounds right.
And the to me that's like, you know, there's so much like satanic heavy metal, but that's one that just feels like almost like, oh, okay, this is real. You actually broke the veil and there's some demonry going on here.
Blackie Lawless will fuck your
gone
girlfriend if you're
deep
not
enough.
careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
the
never got to
razor,
see
the
Wasp
razor
live.
blade cod piece.
No,
Yeah.
I had
Was,
some near misses with seeing Wasp live, unfortunately. But this record I put on, and I just
Oh.
I pretend that I was there.
What a great pick.
Ghoulies.
That's awesome. My next one.
Ghoulies back to school. And then there was like this last Ghoulies movie that really had nothing to do with Ghoulies. I think it was just little people, and it was really horrible. It was a low budget movie. They added the Ghoulies tag to it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. I'll save you some.
Just using
I'll
trademarks.
save you some time wasted in your life. Don't watch
Disgusting
the
misuse
last
of-
Ghoulies.
the good Ghoulies name.
No.
Nice. My next one, going with the Scorpions off the Worldwide Live album.
Yeah.
Bad Boys Running Wild. This was one of the first live albums that I had, and I had it on record. And I remember, this was one of the first ones where I started noticing lead guitar players, and the whole kind of guitar hero thing kind of started to emerge. The Scorpions, in my opinion, are a great example. Like like Guns N' Roses was later, of that you got your rhythm player, you got your lead player, and they're playing two completely different guitar lines, and it kind of dances around one another, and kind of and you get something better than just two dudes playing the same thing, at the same time. And I listened to this one nonstop.
Yeah, I can't picture the Scorpions without like picturing them live, like the
Yeah.
Klaus Mayan like skull listening, like they're fucking doing like standing on each
Jump
other's
kicks.
knees,
Yep.
and like doing like some gymnastic cheerleading shit.
Yep.
And
And
then
it's a
like
Gibson
and-
callback, because you got Rudy on the left with the Gibson V, and you got Matthias on the
and
right with the Explorer.
Rudolph Schenker, anybody holding a guitar with that haircut mustache combo, I'm gonna be
Watch
interested.
out.
I'm gonna be interested in what's coming out of that machine.
Here he
Yeah.
comes.
Yeah,
keep
that's
keep him in your mind.
there's so many great songs on that whole album, Worldwide
And
Live. I
something
love it.
about it just being like the ugliest motherfuckers, but they're like just like we're here. You're gonna get it, and you
Yeah,
need
rock
it.
you like
You're
a
gonna
rock.
You get
you're
it,
gonna
man. They
want
got-
it.
They got
You're
those
gonna
ballads,
you're
man.
gonna
They got
get
those
inches.
ballads.
You're gonna get fed well. That's
Yep.
gotta be like the nastiest song that's like on popular radio rotation. Like this is straight up
They
brutal
play it at
fucking.
football games, man. They play it at the NFL games.
No one notices that. I notice it every time. Like
They blew by the whole Me Too thing.
It's
Untouchable.
more than You Shook Me All Night Long. I think it's more vulgar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Wasn't it in like a
guessing.
kids movie too, like Iron Giant or
Sure.
some Iron Robot? I don't know.
Spy Kids? I don't know.
We're gonna have to rewind and talk about Blackie, though, if we're gonna
In-
go deep into that.
Inappropriate.
A little bit. Oh shit. My next pick is this song was great on the first album, but live it is took on a whole new tone. I actually didn't really pay attention to the song until I heard it live. This is Rainbow, Still I'm Sad, off of On Stage. And this is one of the bands that, like, very few bands for me personally can I listen to just jam out on epic versions of their songs, but Rainbow, with everybody who was in that band at that time going through Still I'm Sad, just the sheer energy when the choruses come up, it's just so intense. Everybody's like on top of their game, and Cozy and Dio
Cozy
and
motherfucking pal.
Richie Blackmore, it's
Yeah, he's
intensity.
fucking blowing his amp up and shit.
And just
yeah.
everybody was on 11, just in their
No.
prime. It was insane.
Yeah.
Any one of those people by themselves on stage would be impressive, but for them to come together just blows
And-
the album version away.
It's all subjective, but especially the live picks were all so hard for me because there's so many great ones that like just teetered on the edge of me picking, like
Oh yeah, I had some honorable ones. It was tough.
SOD, fucking Made in England, AC/DC Live, Halford Live, but Rainbow on stage.
Halford Live.
Halford, Rainbow on stage was definitely like that's always near the top. Live
Alice in
Evil,
Chains,
Black
Unplugged.
Sabbath, yeah, Scorpions.
Everything you guys say
Tokyo
makes me want to
Tapes.
run in a different direction.
Fuck yeah.
It's-
Kiss Alive.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones out there. This was a tough assignment, man. Trust me.
But yeah, Rainbow on stage, that's unfuckable. That's fucking.
Unfuckable. That shit happened, man. I seen it. What's your next pick, Mark?
I got one to go with that.
Mhm.
Okay.
I feel your vibe. I got one to go with that.
I'll be ready.
My next one is Motorhead from No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Stay Clean is the track, and I just feel like it just makes me feel like I'm there, getting bashed in by some loud ass
Right.
bass, bashed in by a gravelly ass motherfucking voice, and yeah, Stay Clean. It's like Motorhead hadn't put out a live album yet till '81, and it just seemed like they were born to put out a live album. One of the best ever. I miss Lemmy every day.
We're Motorhead and we play rock and roll.
Yeah.
Oh
Enough
yeah.
said.
Yeah,
Can
definitely one
you-
of the best live bands. Period.
If you're not gonna open with the Hellion Electric Eye, we're Motorhead and we play rock and roll is the next best thing.
Yeah, and just the fact that he truly did it until he passed on. Like he was just
Yeah.
living it, getting it.
Whiskey, leather, cigarettes.
He played
Metal.
in fucking a hot ass Midwest
Punk
summer
metal.
day with Anthrax and Slipknot and Slayer, and still fucking sounded like, as good or better than the rest of them.
Yeah, I know where I know where you're coming from. You mentioned the being in the thick of it and just taking that the whole experience just right to the face, and that's
Yeah,
well,
put on that record and you just start smelling whiskey and cigarettes for sure.
right, a little bit of vomit. Wouldn't have it any
A
other
little
way.
bit, just a little bit of speed.
It's a hit, so you know you're alive.
Well, I'm gonna take Eric's rainbow pick, and I'm gonna ride along with that with Dio, but this time in the form of the Heaven and Hell lineup and Falling Off the Edge of the World
Ah,
off of
goddamn.
their Live at Radio City album.
God damn.
That's a heavy one.
Oh Jesus! And the thing that stands out to me with this, I only got to see Dio once. I saw him with Motorhead, and Iron Maiden was the bill, and that's a hard one to beat.
Mm.
Totally.
But if you listen to those live albums, there's few. I mean, what Dio does on those, he's great at being in the moment and talking to the crowd and making it feel like you're part of a performance, like this is the show, and
Yeah.
he'll talk about the songs as he's rolling into it, and they'll kind of roll into him a little bit slow, and he'll ad lib some stuff, and he changes it up from live, and he kind of makes it he makes it different. And
Yeah.
when I see a show, I don't want to hear the album just front to back.
He's
That's
like
the last thing I want to hear.
he's like the magician that shows you the magic trick and you still can't do it like he does it.
Yeah, and the way he rolls into like that song and Die Young off the same performance, there's just epic,
Gross.
and
And
it
always
just draws you in.
yeah.
And who else? I mean, well, we don't have to get into that debate, but man,
The
live.
heaven and hell ad libbing is always amazing. That always
Yeah.
stands out to me.
Probably my favorite added vocals
Yeah.
and improving too.
And
He's
when you
always
get to
great.
the they'll only bring you down.
Yeah, it's never something stupid.
Always
you know?
great. It's like some of the best opening tracks to bust out with first. Some of the best middle tracks. Some of the best ending tracks. Like fucking stand up and shout. Ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, man, those two, those first two Dio Sabbath
It's like
albums.
broken glass.
Jeez.
Cut you before you feel it.
Yeah,
indeed.
that's big stuff.
My next one, you want to talk about the live power groove. This little band called Pantera, and this song is called This Love off of 101 Proof. I listened to it this morning and unintentionally got super amped up, just walking around my apartment ready to go after this. The chorus is brutal. The breakdown is one of the best ever, and probably spawned a million bands in its wake. And just the power, you'd think it couldn't be more intense than the recording, but Pantera found a way, and just so goddamn brutal, if not more so live.
To me, that's another one. Say what you will about anything about Pantera ever, but have you listened to that song? Have you listened to This Love? Really? Have you listened to Cemetery
more.
Gates? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's untouchable and often imitated but never replicated breakdowns and grooves, and people are still chasing that dragon. So, but not out of the PAs. No dragons out of the PAs. But
That's one
yeah.
of those songs that feel like once you've been in the pit during that, then you've got something to talk about.
Been christened the Phil
You know.
Anselmo.
Yeah, I've been in some. I was in the pit for Slipknot during People Equal Shit in
There you
Iowa,
go.
and I was
That's a
like,
nice
Jesus, I
ballad.
don't think I'm getting out of here.
No one gets out alive.
I wasn't ready for this.
That's an intense one in itself.
Yeah.
My next pick is Nevermore with the River Dragon Has Come
Oh,
from Year of the Voyager.
what a riff!
This was
What a riff!
It's
Sorry.
released in October
Oh,
20th, 2008 in Europe, November 25th, 2008 in America. set covers the This Godless Endeavor touring cycle. And to me, when it comes to I would call it more technical heavy metal, this live performance is hard to beat. Like, everyone is on 10. World Dane sounds amazing. Everybody sounds amazing, and it's just like everybody's so on point, just vibing with the crowd. Like, it just sounds so good. Like, you hear, yeah, some of these live albums. Like, I do say that I don't. It doesn't matter to me if it's raw, but this one just sounds amazing.
Oh,
Awesome song. Awesome. That's a nasty riff. That one makes you. That just makes you want to punch people and break furniture. And,
Yeah, I miss the
Oh.
hell out of World Dane and Nevermore and Sanctuary. Like, those are always, two of my standbys, heavy hitters for sure.
Classics in the metal
Yeah.
history.
Well, I'll keep up with the mosh pit vibe and the heavier than whatever stuff. I'm gonna go with AIR by Anthrax, off of the Kings Among
Excellent.
Scotland
Ugh,
live album, and that
great song.
that's if if you're one of those people that hears the term Big Four being thrown around and you're like, yeah, I know Metallica, yeah, I heard of Slayer, I've seen the T-shirts, yeah, I heard of Megadeth, Anthrax, it just Jesus, those guys, it's as heavy as anything those other bands put out.
100%. And
I saw
Thrashers.
Anthrax. I saw them the first time on the Clash of the Titans tour with Slayer and
Goddamn.
Megadeth and Alice in Chains on the when no one knew who they were, no one outside of Seattle anyway. And I've seen them with John Bush a couple times, and I saw them on that short-lived, revamped Among the Living lineup when they got Danny Spitz back and opened for Priest in 2008, I think, when Halford came back. And they have delivered so many times live. The John Bush era, no
Oh, yeah.
less than the Joey Belladonna era. But hearing AIR, to me, a classic kind of throwback Anthrax tune in 2018 with that new lineup, it's as fierce as ever, and it's just one of those. This is a rip your head off live album, and you can't play that one loud enough. I mean, it's just huge. It makes you.
Yeah.
It just makes you want to like throw the couch across the room.
Yeah,
You know?
That's the good. That's the good stuff, man.
Charlie
That's the
and
good
Frank.
stuff.
Charlie and Frankie both do things that I think no one else does on their instrument, and especially that song, that album,
Hey,
that'll give any band, Big Four or not, a run for their money for sure.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. Marco and I back in the day, we were too young. We couldn't drive yet, and weren't going to parties yet, and couldn't really go to a ton of shows. So we would watch. There's some concert DVDs that were always in heavy rotation. We'd always be checking out new stuff, but there were some that just always were with us. And this is one of those concerts. This is SOD live at Budokan, and this song is their first one after the March, of course. And this is Sergeant D and the SOD. Sergeant D's coming here on his list, where Billy Milano stage dove from a very high PA straight into people head first, and then punched a guy with the microphone, which they left in the recording. So there's no edits here. This is unfiltered, 100%, literally without a net, stage diving, skull masks. It was one of the most intense shows I've ever seen, and still inspires me. Like, if I'm playing live, like, you gotta keep that intensity. You're not doing it. So
Yeah, that was a heavy rotation. So was Made in England, AC/DC Live.
Oh yeah.
We got a bootleg VHS of when Halford sang with Sabbath, I remember.
Oh yeah.
And that was amazing to see. It was horrible quality.
Right. It was rough, but man, it's like, but you couldn't believe what you were seeing. Yeah.
That SOD stuff is it's just crushing. I love it.
Unrelenting riffage and drumming and intense vocals and bass. It's just on 11 front to back. I don't
It's
know how they did it. I don't know if
it's
they could keep going, but
it's undeniable.
100%.
Yeah, live evil. Like, how was Dio the
Oh,
first one to be like, "Yo, take live and put evil," and it's put those
That's
two
why.
together.
That's why, man. It's
It's
magic.
backwards, Samir, and just yeah, how he did that sort of vocal riffing with Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi and Appice. It's like, yeah, that's magic. That's majesty right there.
It's
Dio
true.
owns it.
That's the next level, man.
Yeah, the definitely, I think we hit the mark. Lots of great picks that you guys brought, and a fitting tribute to the live show. When you, I do try to think of like things that go wrong at a live show, and I do remember there's one time I remember where me and Eric were both toasted at a Tesla concert, and
Did
Eric,
Firehouse open?
I think Eric was making out with some lady, and just fucking gets crazy and throws some beads in the air, and it hits Jeff Keith smack in the face during Love Song. And he backs up and like shakes his hands, but then he like steps back up and he just keeps going. I know he didn't do it intentionally, so that made it that much like if he did it on purpose, it'd be like, dude, what a dick. But it was fucking. That's just one. That's the one thing I can think of that was like could have went horribly awry, but it didn't.
Yeah, drinking at a concert.
Yep.
Things happen.
Coming
Yep.
at you live. I mean, he was ready. He
Indeed.
knows. And
The only time I ever drove through a parking lot, regardless of where the medians were, and just drove across the grass or whatever, and just made the quickest line for the exit, was after a concert.
the
That's what it does. Concerts have the power.
yeah, and then what else? The Metallica played actually here at the Raceway in Newton, and that was amazing. Outdoors on a beautiful night, and I think that's one of the first shows I actually did leave during the last song, just because the parking was so fucking horrible that I had to escape. Metallica would have known that I had to escape. They would have been like, "All right, we're cool with it."
Metallica was actually my last pick, and I didn't get to it, so I'll bring this up now. We opened with my opening pick was Hellion Electric Eye, talking about that being just the most epic intro you could have, right? It's undeniable. If you're not, I mean, 42 seconds in to the Hellion wrapping up, if you're not on board, then you wouldn't have been there to begin with. It's a layup. I saw Metallica once at the fairgrounds in Des Moines, and they opened in broad daylight with "So What," and it was not even a song of theirs. It's a cover, right? It's broad daylight, no lights go down, no lasers, no opening thing, no Lars talking from the dressing room. Hey man, we're coming out soon, all right? None of that, just nothing. Just I wasn't even looking at the stage because there was well that's a whole nother thing, and all of a sudden you hear, hey man, is this thing on? And it's James's voice, and you had enough time to turn your head and look, and he's like, so fucking what? And they just launched into it, and it's like, all right, I guess we're going. And you're
Yeah.
done with your conversation, and the next 2 hours is Metallica just owning your ass, and they don't even need lights.
Yeah.
They're that fucking good.
Yeah. One thing that brought to mind, I saw in Winston Salem. I saw at a biker bar where people could like drive their motorcycles into the bar. I saw Skid Row,
Oh
and they
yeah.
fucking um,
They do monkey business and stab
yes,
a guy. Oh
yes,
Jesus!
GNR. They came out like they played the song. All of a sudden, like I feel like it was one of those shows where the show actually started early instead of late. The lights started flashing, and they played the song over the PA, GNR Coma, and that like set the tone for the whole night. And then Skid Row came out, and it was like they were just like on 10. Like I feel like they were either really amped or really pissed off or something. But it was like the most like every Raucous Skid Row song you could think of was played in that set, and that was great. I mean, that was that was after the Bach days, but it was still a fucking
Oh,
great set. I think maybe I did miss one of my picks too, or maybe I had too many. I had another from the East, Dokken with Beast from the East.
oh yeah.
Oh shit.
And I thought that was Don Dokken, like just when no you couldn't, like no one could touch what he was doing at that time. And I think the album itself maybe sounded a little like tinny or something, but what it captured was fucking great. Really heavy.
That was like his prime too.
Yeah, Dawkins a band. If you could get past the production, there's good stuff there. But they were haunted by that. Them and Sabotage, in my opinion. To go back to that,
Yeah.
great stuff though. Don't let that get in the way. Just play them louder. Just remember
Oh,
to turn
yeah.
your stereo down before you put Metallica on. You blow some shit up.
Heavy Radio 25, a tribute to the live show. One of the last things I think we didn't mention that we all would agree on is that Randy Rhoads tribute, Ozzy,
Oh yes, of course.
Ozzy tribute, and also Ozzy Live and Loud was one of mine. Like I was considering because
And Brad
Goddamn.
Gillis on Speak of the Devil.
30
Yeah.
30 minute
Endless.
Paranoid version of Paranoid.
Yeah.
It's like 30
pretty
minutes.
much his whole life. I mean, even just recently, there's nights where Ozzy still fucking clicks. Like I saw him. One of his last live shows to date was in Minneapolis, and the Mr. Crowley magic. It was still there. Like it was like a night where he was sounding great and he was in good health and good spirits, and it was fucking awesome. So yeah, even to this day, like Ozzy can conjure that magic from time to time, and especially when he has Zakk Wylde there, because Zakk Wylde I feel like sometimes helps out, like if there's a rough vocal part or something.
Oh yeah, he does.
And that works for me. It's fucking great. And but yeah, that Ozzy Live and Loud. I Don't Want to Change the World. I've been jamming that, and but yeah, tribute. I mean, that captures. Thanks so much. Be thankful so much that we have that for just the majesty that is Randy Rhoads, captured in all its glory.
Oh yeah.
Amen.
Heavy Radio 25. I think we'll close it with that. A fitting tribute to Randy Rhoads. Tribute to the live show.
Yeah.
Play it loud, and we hope to see you sooner rather than later at a venue, and we'll cheers, and maybe we will start butting heads like in the pit, like we said we've avoided before, but maybe it's time to just take the shirts off and
Oh, it'll come back.
bash
It'll be
into
back.
each other. It's worth
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I mean, who cares? Fuck it.
Hold my earrings.
Yeah, dangly ones.
I'm going in.